So it wasn't just the withered comment that came out of this Kim Mulkey hit piece by the Washington Post, but honestly, there wasn't much more that came out of it that we didn't already know. I think to call this a hit piece is maybe even putting it a bit too far. I, I don't think Kim comes off that poorly in this versus what we already know about her, right? And they kind of went in the direction that I thought it would be, that they trying to lay her out as homophobic, and maybe she is behind closed doors, and I don't know. But for this whole long expose to only have one player on record accusing her of this, on record for this story, accusing her of this, and then another former teammate, one that she was dating, is kind of refuting the suspension story altogether. It there's not a lot there. There's not a lot there. And like, I know that Kim is a hard ass. We all know that. And, they had mentioned about some players who had left the team, including one, Neiman from the national championship team in 05, that left because they just couldn't handle Kim. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, most of us probably couldn't handle Kim, right? And so it's like, well, okay, there's no big reveal there. And even when talking about the homophobic issues around Kim in the program, the Post does make sure to lay it on thick in there that Baylor would not have been accepting of it. And I get it. So this is a tough one as a Baylor student, as a Baylor alum, someone who loves Baylor. Like, of course, Baylor has not been on the forefront of LGBT. Like, they have not been. I don't know. I still don't think they have any student organizations recognized that are tied to LGBTQ plus. But in that same token, we did just have a huge day for Brittany Griner a month ago. Retired number. She's the only one with her number hanging up there in the rafters. And it was a huge celebration, and she should have gotten that. So it's like, I don't know that, and of course it would have been somewhat different in 2010, but I don't know if the Baylor community would have necessarily turned on the women's basketball program or Kim Mulkey or any of that. I don't think so. But I can understand how you look at it from the outside and say, well, Baylor has not put any proof to this claim that Camp Stewart just made. So, I do get it. But it's an odd story. And what it ends up really being is talking about Kim and her family, her estrangement from her family. And that is a major part of it. I mean, you can break down the article into Kim can be mean sometimes, and Kim doesn't talk to her family. It's just not a lot that we learned there. Not a lot that we learned. And if I'm being quite honest, not that it's not fair game, but I don't love that is the focal point of the story, that she doesn't talk to her sister or her dad. Is it sad? Yes, it is sad, right? I know for parents, especially reading that, that must be a sinking feeling to read, that someone who is so successful and whose dad was such a big part of her life as a kid, they have not spoken in almost 40 years. That's sad. And the same thing with her sister, who I think is a year younger than her. They haven't talked in 20 years over some sounded like petty argument. Not surprising, but it is sad. I don't know. I don't know what that has to do with Kim Mulkey, the basketball coach. I don't love that they're putting out a story of, look how mean she is to her dad. And she doesn't talk to her dad. Like, how could you root for a person like that? Is kind of the tone that I got from it. And I was like, well, we don't know that story, man. Like, we heard it from one perspective. And maybe this hits me different because I have extended family issues where there are people we don't talk to who are part of our family. And I'm sure most families actually do have that. It's not as cut and dry as you think. And to just hear one perspective from that, I don't I don't think I don't think that's fair. You know, it's fair in the sense that Kim Mulkey is a huge public figure, but it's not fair to lay out this story of big bad Kim Mulkey because she's had some family issues. I don't think that's a great way to air laundry. And trust me, I mean, Kim is many things, but she has also been through a lot with her family and a lot in terms of, infidelity within a family, man. Like we don't know. Most of us don't know. Can't even put ourselves in that position, let alone put ourselves in Kim's shoes. So I just didn't love that. So was it a hit piece? I don't think so, because I don't think we learned a lot from it. I think Baylor comes out looking not great. Um, but it's I didn't get it. I just didn't get the point of it. And if you were gonna go at that angle of Kim Mulkey's a homophobe, then okay, bring me some more examples. I know it's not the easiest thing to do. I get that, but it's tough for us as readers to read one story that is, by good journalism in this instance, immediately kind of pushed back on by someone else in the story. It's tough for us as readers to sit here and say, "Oh, they're right. Kim Mulkey is a huge homophobe." Like I didn't see that in there. I didn't see that in there. And I know she's old school and all that, so maybe that's what they're trying to lean on, just the reputation of being an old school coach from the deep south, but they didn't really present a lot in there for me. Like, we know Kim is tough. And for every story in there that we heard Kim is really tough, it was another person saying, "Well, yeah, she is tough, but we needed that as a team. I needed that in my life." Like, there's a couple of instances in that in there as well. So I don't even think you need to sue Kim. I know you're probably, hurt that there was all this family stuff that came out, but I don't think you look any worse than you did the day before. If you like Kim Mulkey, you didn't change your opinion on her after this story. If you don't like Kim Mulkey, you didn't change your opinion of her after this story. That's all. And I know the the LA Times took some shots too, which whatever. Speaking of taking shots, there is a former Baylor basketball star who took plenty of shots at his old team.